Need I explain more? Donkey Kong is an arcade game that basically everyone knows by now. It was the debut of Mario, or Jumpman as he's called here, sorry. While Mario would go on to basically become Nintendo's mascot and get a shit ton of gates and love, Donkey Kong would pretty much get the same treatment. And in 1994, they even did a whole reimagining of the original arcade game on the Game Boy. While I haven't played much of this game, it really is something else, man. It has a whole slew of new worlds and new levels, a new moveset from Mario that feels oh so good, and so much more. Sadly, after this game, there wasn't really an attempt to make another Donkey Kong-like game. 10 years later... Donkey Kong gives into a new Mini Mario toy fad and commits theft. Gotta give him credit for wanting to save money.
Hey, come back here! No you don't! No you don't! What are you doing? What's going on here? Oh, your mamma mia!
So yeah, it's up to Mario to save all those Mini Marios. At least there's no Polly needing to be saved this time. Mario vs Donkey Kong is basically a puzzle platformer game, if that makes any sense. Being that, it's important that it controls well, and well, it does. I'm gonna preface this by saying that it's not going to control like your average Mario platformer, so don't expect that at all. But given the type of game we're dealing with here, it's nice that Mario still has a pretty robust moveset. He even gets the ability to climb ropes, and he looks oddly like the ape he's literally chasing when he does this. The game knew that this is a pretty robust moveset because every level has a tutorial for these moves. Like, it doesn't bother me that much, but was this really needed for like every level? Moving on though, the objective here is to clear the levels and then fight DK. Rinse and repeat 6 times after that. However, the unique thing going on here is that these levels are actually split up in sections. The first section is just a matter of getting the key and carrying it to the door. Though when carrying the key, Mario's moveset becomes limited and you have 12 seconds to get the key back if dropped. Then, in the second part, it's a simple beeline towards the Mini Mario to free it. Every one of these levels have these gift boxes as well, and getting all 3 of these means that you get like one of these 2 bonus mini games where you can gain extra lives. After that, you have the Mini Mario levels. These levels basically see you guiding the 6 Mini Marios you've collected from the previous levels all the way to this toy box. You only get so much time to do so, and there's always a challenging puzzle to overcome. It doesn't help that I tend to crack under pressure very easily, but it's still a pretty cool concept. And even cooler is that the amount of minis you get from these levels carry on to the boss fights, so you better hope you don't screw up. Also, if you leave the minis behind, you get greeted with this voice sample. So this is what parenting feels like. Anyways, the boss fights are mixed to say the least. Some of them are actually fairly simple and quick, but the ones that have conveyor belts are pretty much the bane of my existence. It's just not fun at all, and having to redo the Mini Mario levels that are dying to these is just a kick in the balls, man. Funnily enough, these were towards the last 2 worlds of the game, and yeah, that's when the entire game just gets a massive difficulty spike. At least to me. The thing is though, like, it's not the worst difficulty spike I've ever like experienced, but geez, it kicked my ass. It's why I shifted to emulation in the last world. I have things to do, you know. But I'll give credit to the final boss though. That battle is fun. Rescuing the toads and then using these barrels to defeat DK and then huck him off the building is a sight to behold. Anyways, it's still a fun game overall. Short, but sweet. An experience I can see myself enjoying and even coming back to.
Hey, are you okay?
Come over here.
Stop! Not again! Here we go again! Woohoo!
Yeah, there's more. Honestly, I thought the plus worlds were going to be just harder versions of regular levels, but thankfully, I was wrong. While they do repeat the same themes, they're actually just one section per level, and each of them is just dragging a mini to the end. Sure, it can be kinda annoying, but I somehow enjoy the plus worlds more than the regular worlds, especially compared to the last world. Feels great to be kidless, huh? Unfortunately, the bosses are still the same here. First few are fine, then the last couple of bosses are just shit. Thankfully, the final battle is great. I love how DK just busts a giant mech out of nowhere, and how the 6 captured minis are used as an indicator for how much hits DK has left. Pretty good stuff. But there's also the expert and e-reader levels. Expert levels are basically the really hard levels of this game. You unlock these after the final boss and by getting gold stars in levels, which basically means beating the levels as flawlessly as possible. Since I already struggled with the later parts of this game, I didn't really try any of these, but it's a nice option for those who want more challenge. But then there's also the e-reader levels. The fuck is this? So, the e-reader was basically an accessory for a GBA, which is a card reader. It was not used very much, and the card's release gave additional context for some games. So, it's like DLC in a way. Funnily enough, this game's e-reader levels are only accessible in the Japanese version, and it doesn't help that the cards were only ever distributed during events. Though in the North American release of this game, the levels are still there, but they're only accessible via hacking, and they seem to be unfinished compared to the Japanese version of these levels. Makes sense, given that the game was developed and released in North America first, and then with Japan getting it later. It is also cool that how since Japan got it later, you see these little differences and changes, like the mini Marios being front and center in the tile screen instead. It was a sign of things to come, I think. Anyways, Europeans are basically screwed in this regard because these levels are just completely gutted from those releases. Better luck next time, guys. As for the levels themselves, they're basically single section levels and look like fun, bite-sized stages. Definitely something I'll come back to when I feel the drive to hack my game or something. Whew, boy, I finally get to talk about this. This is probably the most famous aspect of this game, especially the cutscenes. But why is that? Well... Need I say more? I get they're like this because it's the GBA, but man, these are so wonderfully shitty. The overly compressed images, the random black screen pauses, the big crush sound, it just goes so wonderfully together, man. Graphically, this game goes for the whole using 2D models as sprites look, and while it doesn't look really good on a big screen, it looks much better on the intended screen, trust me. Oh, and don't mind the colors being off, I use a 3DS for recording most of the base worlds before switching to emulation because I am bad at video games. Moving on though, the animations have so much flair for no reason and I love it. The various dead animations they made for Mario, the animations he gets when entering exiting a level, the way he throws the minis on the screens, it wasn't needed but god I love it. And the crusty ass renders you get after you beat a boss, they're so good. I love the ones you get at the Plus Worlds where it's just Mario screwing around with the minis. The 2000s energy is full on display here. Man, I should make greeting cards like these. Despite the soundtrack being the most MIDI-ass thing ever, it's quite catchy. It's nothing mind-blowing, but you'd be surprised how catchy these tracks get. My favorite ones have to be the more frantic tracks. And when the samples kick in, oh man. Give it a listen because it's great working music as well. On the topic of the sound, I gotta hand it to the voices because despite being super compressed, there's a lot of them. In fact, I think this is the most we've ever heard Mario speak.
Let's get going! Oh you, it's all you baby! Let's go little guys! Here we go, again!
Not to mention the minis as well. Sure, it's just Mario pitched up, but man, it's funny as hell hearing them. And you gotta love the blatantly reused Donkey Kong 64 voice clips for DK over here. And finally, I gotta mention the various sound effects used in this game because man, they're just the funniest thing to hear coming out of these enemies. I think most of them are really just stock sounds too. Isn't it beautiful? And that's Mario vs Donkey Kong, a really quality puzzle game. Sure, it gets hard for me near the end, but I would still highly recommend this to anyone itching for a puzzle game. Plus, if you love compressed audio and just hearing Mario talk, then this game really is the one for you. Sure, there is a remake on Switch out now, but I really don't want to drop 50 bucks on it. Plus, they removed a lot of the flair from the animations. Why?
Oh, your mamma mia, sono arrabbiato. Hey, it's okay. Don't cry. Here, you like? It's a mini gem.
I love you. Martini. Cosa t'ha detto? Sono arrabbiato.
Thank you very much for playing my games.